Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Eddie and today we are going to be working on this Land Rover Series 2A. If you watch videos on my channel, you will have seen this car quite a bit. And today I brought it into the barn because I've got a few jobs that I want to do to it. The first job that we're going to be tackling today is we need to replace the fuel lines between the petrol tank and the lift pump, and then from the lift pump to the carburetor. And for good measure, we're also going to replace the lift pump. This Land Rover has two fuel tanks, left hand and right hand, under the seats. Something that's interesting about these Land Rovers is they don't have a fuel filler on the outside. So you pull up to a petrol station, you have to take your seat out, take that out, and there is your tank. This one I have already disconnected the fuel line and it just sits there because I don't use this fuel tank. It's very rusty inside. So this fuel tank on the right, someone at some point has tried to do like a rust encapsulation and fuel tank lining thing, which has not worked. It's all come away. But this one on the left is really clean. So that's the one that we're going to carry on using. So this is the changeover tap here for the dual fuel tanks changeover tap thing. There's the lift pump down there. That's what we've got to replace, and also that fuel line. I think best course of action is get all the seats out and everything, and then we'll have a look. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. Getting the seats and the floor out is a 3-minute job. And then after I got them out, I removed the pickup pipe from the fuel tank. So these are the bits I've got to do this. I've got this brand new lift pump. I carry this as a spare because I've had so many of these go wrong that it's just easier to have a spare one with you at all times. Got some new brass like push-on fuel things, and I got this fuel hose braided. Here's the pickup pipe that was in there. So here's the replacement one. It's not really a replacement. I'm just going to swap it in and then fix that one, and then I'll have that one as a spare. So that's the fuel line to the lift pump. To remove the lift pump, it's just 2 bolts, and obviously you've got to undo the petrol pipe connections to it. But other than that, it's really straightforward. It's just a little bit fiddly to get to, but it does come out in the end. Okay, come on. Well done. This glass sediment bowl is your filter, so any rubbish that gets through your fuel tank is supposed to go in there. Let's see if there's rubbish in there. More rubbish than's acceptable. Okay, it's raining now. So from my box of bits, I managed to get fixings together. Got copper washers in there and nice little fittings. This is the new one. It's going to go down there, and then here's the fuel pipe. It's going to go on the end, so hopefully it lasts longer than the old one. The old one's probably still alright, but you know. Alright, let's get some sealant. I just think that if you're replacing the lines, you might as well replace everything. So new pipe, new lift pump, just fitted that new carburetor, so hopefully there can't be any more problems with it. Here's the new fuel line. So that's the new fitting that we put in, and the line goes under the seat, over to the other one, under there, and then it comes up past the clutch slave cylinder and into the back of the pump there. There's a glass bowl filter, and then this is the lift pump. Been priming that up a bit, and that comes up there onto our homemade clip and onto the carburetor. So hopefully that solves our problem. I've left a little bit of slack in it, and there's a piece of rubber in here, so it's just squeezing it nicely. But someone commented on one of my previous videos, I think the one where I replaced the carburetor, that it sounds like it has an exhaust leak, but what I've discovered is it definitely has an exhaust leak, or if it doesn't, then it's by some miracle, because down there at the bottom of the exhaust manifold there's supposed to be 3 studs sticking out that go down into like a collar thing, and then you put nuts on that, and that's what holds the exhaust up. But I only have 2 bolts. I only have 2 studs which are tightened up, and the rest of the area is filled up with this stuff. So a previous owner or someone has just bunged a load of exhaust paste in between the exhaust manifold and the exhaust pipe itself, the collar. That's almost definitely causing a leak. It is a bit fumy in the cab at times. What we are going to do is figure out how best to get it out to have a look at it. I think that on another Land Rover before, I have had to re-tap a hole in an exhaust manifold where the stud has snapped off. So I'm thinking that we're going to have to try and take the exhaust off, take the exhaust manifold off, and that also means the carburetor and everything has to come out, because I think they're attached. So that's a little bit more involved, and we'll see how far we get with that. Hopefully we can fix it, but I would imagine that that's not going to be as straightforward as my fuel lines. So hopefully that's not too bad, but we'll only know when we get cracking. So let's get on with it. The inlet manifold is bolted to the exhaust manifold, so I think the easiest thing to do is to take the whole thing off. I say easy, hopefully the easiest thing to do. Most difficult bolts will definitely be the ones on the bottom that are attached to the exhaust, because those will probably be really rusty. I reckon we want to just undo all these bolts and then take the whole thing off in one, including the inlet manifold. It would be a lot easier to do this if I removed the wing. However, that is easier said than done. Those bolts are almost definitely seized, so I decided to just work around it. Was a bit easier than I thought it would be. Oh dear, gonna need a new gasket. Looking back on this footage now, you can kind of see that this was a bit of a pain. I didn't have any drill bits and everything, and this cast iron exhaust manifold was really, really tough to drill into. So we did get it done, but don't be surprised if I replace it with a new one. All right, that's done. That's tapped. Got a new stud in there. It wasn't without its problems, but hopefully it will hold. So I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up, and then I'm going to clean up the side of the engine, and I've got a new gasket to fit. So we'll get it back together and we'll give it a test. One problem I do have at the minute is I need to go through my supplies and see if I can find one of these, you know, those things that hold the underneath the manifolds, because one of them has split in half, and I think they're cast, so that's that, if that's the case. I did in fact weld the two pieces back together, and it has held up so far. Then I got the gasket mating surface on the block cleaned and on the manifold, so we can get everything back together. Ow, 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 ow. Honestly, getting all this back together was a bit of a nightmare. Everything has to go just perfectly for it to work, and the exhaust just doesn't want to go back up into that flange thing there, so it was really difficult, but it's fine. It's just lack of access, I think. If I had been able to take the wing off, then it would have been a lot easier. Then it's just getting the accelerator linkage all connected back up, and we should be good to go. Okay, that's all put back together. It was a bit of a faff. I had to keep going under the car, coming back up again. There's not a lot of room there. I think I've got everything done up pretty tight, especially those three, the stud that I replaced or installed, I guess, on the bottom of the manifold, and then those things, that was just such a fiddle getting that on there, but I think we should just give it a little test, little test, and see if it sounds any different. So I hope you enjoyed this film about the fuel lines and the exhaust manifold. I think the fuel lines were a great success, but I don't think the exhaust manifold was. It's still got a bit of an exhaust leak. So that definitely needs to be addressed in my next film about this. And also I still need to do the tyres, and also I want to underseal the Land Rover to protect it for the future. So other than that, I'm basically happy, but yeah, there's still more to come, and I hope to see you for that on the next film. Thanks very much for watching.